You're listening to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Here are your hosts, Fran Chismar and Tom Kinezic.
What's really interesting with our radio tracking of pine snakes is that the snakes don't really change much. They're habitual in where they go.
Okay.
Tom, I think your brother once helped me radio track some pine snakes. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. He had so much fun. He said he didn't find enough snake stuff. He's a snake fanatic.
And so they develop these patterns, and they go to the same place every year on the same day almost.
Wow.
And it didn't matter if you burned the area, they still went to the same places. So, I mean, it could be that, in the year that the area was burned, well, okay, maybe they didn't find as many voles to eat or whatever, but they managed, and then, they just they hung out in their territories. We saw a little bit of shifting going on in terms of some of the winter dens, perhaps because of the burning, but for the most part, they were oblivious to it.
Wow.
What else was I going to say about them? We have an interesting story. We were radio tracking a really large male rattlesnake, and we found it near Chatsworth one summer, right at the end of July. And we started radio tracking it. And as the fall approached, it started heading east. And we lost the signal on it. We didn't know where it went. We thought the radio died. Because the radios are supposed to last a couple of years, but sometimes they die prematurely.
Okay.
And so I went up in an airplane that winter and searched every stream corridor for that radio signal within 3 or 4 miles of Chatsworth, and I got no signal anywhere.
Okay.
So I thought, well, that pretty much confirms the radio died. The snake's nowhere. And, or the snake could have got preyed upon and the radio could have been destroyed. That was, the other possibility. So then the next year, we were, radio tracking other snakes, and it came to the end of July. And I said, well, why don't we just go down and check, where that snake was the end of July? Because who knows, maybe it'll be sitting in the same place, and even though the radio's dead, maybe we'll find it on the same log, and then we can remove the radio.
Yeah.
Well, we went there and the radio was working.
All right.
So there was the snake in the same spot and the radio was working. So we're like, uh-oh, the radio's working. Where the heck was this snake last year? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So Fred Akers from Great Egg Harbor Watershed, he took it upon himself to make sure that we didn't lose the snake.
Yeah.
And he radio tracked it. It went 8 miles to the east.
Wow.
Until it found its winter den. And it never crossed the paved road. So it went clear across the pygmy pines to a new hibernaculum area that we discovered for rattlesnakes. And it made that same, 16-mile round trip 2 years in a row.
Wow. So,
this big male lived in Ocean County in the winter and came to Burlington County in the summer to find the girls. And then, so we learned a lot.
Yeah.
And, it was amazing because we wouldn't have been able to find it via an airplane because we couldn't fly over the bombing range. There's the Warren Grove bombing range.
Yeah.
So the only way that we were ever going to find that snake again is if it came back to the same place.
Wow.
And, we were lucky enough to hear the signal and realize that, the radio hadn't died at all.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
So I know Bob Zappalordi is publishing a paper now, about that being the farthest anyone has ever recorded for a round trip of a rattlesnake during the course of the season.
And just think if that land hadn't have been preserved, all that would have been lost.
Right. Well, and that just goes to show you, right? This think of what these things need in terms of square miles.
Yeah.
Without pavement, as soon as you put a paved highway, that's what I worry about. For example, in the Pine Barrens, we've saved all the land, right? Look at the map, for Pete's sakes. We've saved almost all the land, right? But there are creatures that cannot get across those highways.
Mhm.
Those highways, those county roads have so much traffic on them now that they might be isolating populations genetically. Not birds, not insects, but, reptiles and amphibians and reptiles and amphibians and other things that can't fly or run fast.
And when you fragment those
So-
populations genetically, that raises
that could lead to
breeding and
lead to extinction,
Exactly.
because the patches are too small.
Yep.
So, we've saved all the land. I mean, my vision for the Pine Barrens, 100 years from now is that there will be huge sections of elevated roadway. But of course, that means that society would have to spend money on, building elevated roadway instead of bombs,
Mhm.
but who knows if that'll ever happen.
Yeah, we'll save that one for the government's role in restoration.
Thank you for listening to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Remember to like, share, follow, and comment.